I signed the paper that handed my home over to the bank. 45 years of sweat, sacrifice, and doing everything right, gone with the stroke of a pen, just because my heart decided to fail me on a Tuesday.
I am 82 years old, and for most of my life I lived in the promise. The great American promise that if you keep your head down, work hard, and pay your taxes, you get to rest at the end. I worked at the assembly plant for 32 years, standing on concrete floors until my knees felt with broken glass. But I never complained because I was building a future. My wife and I, we were the people you wanted as neighbors. We didn't live lavishly. We drove our cars until the wheels fell up, and we saved every extra dollar for a rainy day. I remember the day we made the final mortgage payment. It was the proudest moment of my life. We stood in the backyard and burned the lawn papers in the grill. We popped a bottle of cheap champagne and cried because we finally owned our little piece of the world freed. We had the 401k. We had the savings account. And most importantly, we had a selling health insurance plus Medicare. So we thought we were bulletproof. I used to look at our retirement savings and feel this deep sense of peace, like a warm blanket wrapped around my soul, thinking that matter what happened, we were safe. We had planned for everything. For inflation, for home repairs, even for our funerals. But we made one fatal mistake. We assumed the system was designed to protect us. We assumed that the insurance meant insurance, mind insurance. I was so arrogant in my security, walking around with my chest puffed out, thinking I had won the game of life. I didn't know that I was standing on a trapdoor the whole time, just waiting for the lever to be pulled. The day the world fell out from under me started like any other Tuesday. I was drinking my coffee and reading the sports page when the room suddenly tilted sideways. I remember trying to grab the edge of the table, but my hand whisked into my brain. And then I was on the linoleum looking up at the ceiling fan, spinning it to a blur. The next few hours are a chaotic mess in my memory. The scream of the ambulance sirens seemed to be inside my own skull. The frantic voice of the paramedics shouting numbers and codes I didn't understand. My wife was holding my hand so tight her knuckles were white. And I tried to tell her I was okay, but the words came out like a grublet mess. When they wheeled me into the emergency room, it was chaos. Nurses running, machines beeping, the smell of rubbing alcohol and old blood. Amidst all the terror, lying there with my shirt cut open and electrodes stuck to my chest, I had this strange, calm thought floating in the back of my mind. I looked at my terrified wife and I thought, thank God we have the platinum plan. Thank God we did her. We zoos illusions. I actually told myself to just focus on staying alive because the money was taken care of. That is what we paid premiums for all those decades. I lay there in that hospital bed, trusting the doctors, trusting the administration, completely unaware that the clipboard they just handed my wife to sign, waves to sign, was more than the stroke would bid me there. I survived the stroke. The doctors patted themselves on the back and told me I was a lucky man. But the real sickness didn't start until I got home. It arrived in the mailbox. Innocent-looking white envelopes that piled up on the kitchen counter like snowdrops. At first, I wasn't worried. I just tossed them in a pile for later because I was still relearning how to hold a spoon without spilling soap on my shirt. When I finally sat down to open them, the first few weren't so bad. Just a copay here and a deditable there. But then came the tick one. The one from the anesthesiology group. It said amount to, in bold red letters, $45,000. I wiped my glasses, thinking the stroke had messed up my vision. Or maybe there was a smudge on the lens. But the number didn't change. I called the number on the paper immediately, my hands trembling so hard I could barely hold the phone. And the lady on the other end sounded like Rebecca a script. She told me that while the hospital was in network, and my surgeon was in network, the specialist Dr. Ho who put me to sleep was an out-of-network contractor. I asked her how on earth I was supposed to know that YY was unconscious on a gurney fighting for my life. How was I supposed to interview the anesthesiologist before emergency surgery? She just paused and said, "It is the patient's responsibility to verify privers to verify prefaced." That was the moment the floor dropped out. I realized I hadn't been saved by a hospital. I had been processed by a business. For the next 6 months, my full-time job wasn't recovering. It was fighting. I spent hours every single day listening to treble hold music, waiting to speak to claims adjusters who had never met me and didn't care if I'd. I learned a new vocabulary of rejection. Words like codified incorrectly, unmedically unnecessary. They denied the rehabilitation therapy because they said I wasn't improving fast enough. So I had to pay out of pocket just to learn how to walk again. That was when the bleeding started. First went the rainy day fund. $15,000 we had kept in a savings account for emergencies. It didn't last a month. It wasn't a rainy day. It was a Category 5 hurricane. Then we had to touch the sacred money, the 401k. I remember logging into the computer with my wife, her hand resting on my shoulder, both of us staring at the screen. We had to sell off the mutual funds we had bought in the nanets, the ones that were supposed to pay for our grandkids' college questions, the ones that were supposed to keep the lights on when we were 90. Every time I clicked a sell, it felt like I was chopping off a piece of my own body. We watched the number that represented 5 years of early mornings and late nights just evaporate. It is a specific side of torture to watch your life's work turn into digital's dust, just to pay for pills that cost $10 to make but $200 to buy. The cash ran out before the bills did. That is the simple math of tragedy. We had one card left to play, the house. But before we put the sign in the yard, we tried to sell what was inside. We held a garage sale on a Saturday morning, humiliating ourselves on the driveway. I sat in a lawn chair watching strangers pick through my life. A man offered me $5 for my toolbox, the tools I used to build a deck, to fix the kids' bikes. And I had to say yes because we needed the $5 for a prescription copay. A woman haggled with my wife over her good china, offering pennies for plates that held our Thanksgiving turkeys for 30 years. I saw the shame in my wife's eyes, looking down at her shoes while strangers treated our memories like trash. But the garage sale money was just a drop in the ocean. 2 weeks later, the realtor came. Watching him plow that for sale send into the front lawn felt like he was driving a stake through my heart. The neighbors picked through their blinds. I knew what they were whispering. They weren't thinking poor Baptist is meant to. They were thinking, thank God it isn't us. We weren't just selling a building. We were selling our dignity. Square foot by square foot, we packed 45 years of life into a few cardboard boxes, leaving behind pencil marks on the doorframe where we measured the kids' height, leaving behind the ghost of the life we thought we would have. We moved into a one-bedroom apartment on the wrong side of town, the kind of place where the hallways always smell like boiled cabbage and damp carpet. The walls are paper thin, so instead of the birds chirping in my backyard, I wake up to the sound of the couple next door arguing about my. But the worst part isn't it the noise. It is the silence. I stopped going to the Rotary Club meetings. I stopped answering calls from my old fishing buddies. What am I supposed to say to them? Ted, while they are planning cruise to Alaska, I am clipping coupons to buy peanut butter. Shame is a powerful wool. It isolates you faster than any disease. We him tell the kids the full extent of it. They have their own mortgages, their own struggles, and the one thing a parent never wants to be as a burden. So when they call, we tell them we downsized because the big house was too much work. We tell them we are enjoying the simple life. I look at my wife sitting in a worn-out armchair we picked up from the curb, darning a sock because we can't afford new ones, and my heart breaks all over again. We are invisible now. We used to be pillars of the community. Now we are just two old people counting pennies in the dark, trying not to turn on the heat until it is absolutely freezing. I have had a lot of time to think in this quiet apartment, and I have realized distinct terrifying about this country I love. We treat the American dream like a contract. We think if we sang on the dotted line of hard work, the government sings on the line of protection. But it is not a contract. It is a gamble. I played by the rules. I didn't go to casinos. I didn't buy fancy sports cars. I didn't make risky investments. My only risky was getting old in America. I realized too late that the healthcare system in this country isn't to hell feel, poo feel. It is designed to extract wealth. It is a vacuum cleaner aimed directly at the bank accounts of the elderly. They wait until you are at your wixed. When you are scared and dying, and then they take everything you built in 50 years to the hospital. I wasn't a human being with a story and a family. I was a review stream. I was a profit center. If you get cancer in Europe, you worry about dying. If you get cancer in America, you worry about dying and leaving your wife homeless. That is the cruel joke of it all. We work our whole lives to be independent, only to have the very system that keeps us alive strive is of that independence. I feel like it was tricked. Like I bought a ticket to a show that was cancelled, but they kept my money anyway. So, what is my warning to you? The young uns running the race I just finished. Do not place your faith in a system that views you as a line item. Prepare for the storm. Yes, but do not let the fear of it consume your sunny days. And please, understand what being rich actually means before it is too late. The bank took my house. The hospital took my savings. But they could not repossess the memories of holding my children when they were small. They could not bill me for the love my wife shows me every day. Sitting here in this drafty apartment, holding my hand when I feel worthless. That is the only true wealth. The things that cannot be foreclosed on. I used to look at my bank account, feel safe. Now, I look at my wife.
I lost the American dream, but I found the truth. Money is just paper, and paper burns. Love is the only thing that survives the fire. Don't wait until you are bankrupt to realize you are already rich.